All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. We are so excited that you've chosen to spend some time with us this evening. Whether you're live with us now or even catching us down the road on the replay, we are tonight by not taking too much of it and also by being intentional to give you the information that you came here for. We are having some absurd feedback. So I'm going to jump in and see if my colleagues can mute themselves and we can end all. That's fantastic. Hey guys, so my name is Jim Larson. I'm a cardiac surgery ICU registered nurse coming to you guys live right now from Virginia. I'm joined tonight by 8 other medical professionals, all in different fields. And just like in the hospital setting, it sort of takes a nurse to coordinate medical professionals. So this is really not an unfamiliar role for me. Tonight, you're going to hear why each of us chose to partner with Rodan & Fields. And as is life, we all came from different places and chose to join for different reasons. My expectation is that you're going to resonate with a few of our stories. So sit back, relax, grab a glass of wine. We honestly shouldn't be more than 40 to 45 minutes, and we're genuinely excited you're here because this opportunity has offered each of us so much that we just really love sharing it with people. For my wife and I, if I can get really transparent, even though you have no idea who I am, and there's a lot of people on this page, so some might consider it awkward that I get very transparent, but I like to do that. And if I am transparent, we were in a hard place 5 years ago. If you're married, I kind of hope that your marriage is a little bit like ours because we're that couple that genuinely actually kind of likes each other. And we happen to like each other more the more time that we spend together. But the opposite of that's also true. When we're apart from each other for a while, we tend to get a little testy. We build up those walls of resistance. We start arguing about stupid things. And literally at the time, she's a nurse also. We're both working overnight shifts at the hospital, young kids at home. We had to alternate our shifts so that someone was always working and someone was always home so that we could avoid paying a live-in nanny because God only knows how much that costs. There actually might be some humans that also know how much that costs. We didn't even explore that because we knew that was not an option for us. But what it meant for us in our real life was that we might seriously go 8 days in a row without anything more than just a goodbye kiss. Maybe we could steal dinner before running out the door, but we were emotionally exhausted. Financially, we were treading water. And if you guys have ever done night shifts, especially, you know that you're physically exhausted too with that just night shift hangover that just, is absurd. So we're getting by in our life, but we're just never getting ahead. And I wish I could tell you that it was sort of like a big push, like medical school. Like, hey, if we just survive until that, there's this light at the end of the tunnel that we can look forward to. But no, it was just our life. And nothing was going to be different for the next 30 years unless we happened to save enough money to retire before we died. That was literally the entire existence we were looking for. So guys, if I'm honest with you, we were desperate for something more. And I think that's going to be a theme that you're going to hear throughout the night is a desire for something more, whatever that more might look like. So it's at this place in our lives when I met up with a nursing colleague of mine in downtown Fredericksburg, Virginia. We met at a bar. It was her and her husband, Jody and Jonathan Watkins. And I'm sitting across from them, and it's at this bar. I don't know, it's Capital Ale House. I don't know if they're a chain, if they're in other cities, if they're only in Virginia, but I do know that they had like 85 amazingly good beers on tap. And I'm across the table from them, and they had just become consultants with Rodan & Fields, and we're super excited about it. They look across the table at me, and they're like, Jim, you guys have got to do this. This is going to be huge. Now, I'd had a couple of those really good beers, and clearly I was sold. We had to do this. This was going to be huge. So I come home to tell my wife, Sonia, and I bust through the door, and there she is, pregnant with our 3rd kid, like dinner's burning on the stove. We've got one kid coloring Sharpie on the wall, another kid crying about something else, the dog's peeing on the floor, and here I am like, babe, I totally want to add something more to your plate like right now. And you can imagine how well that went over. Safe to say it didn't go over well. It was one of those like tuck tail and get out of my sight looks. And if you're married, especially if you're a wife, you're probably pretty good at those looks, because I got one of those. And she said no, that we weren't going to do this for so many reasons. And looking back, those reasons were all really legitimate. She's like, Jim, number one, we are busy. We are way too busy to do this. We barely see each other. We've got a third kid on the way. Like, we can't add anything more to our plate. Secondly, she's like, we don't know anything about skincare. She's like, I am a Target rack clearance kind of girl, and you don't touch skincare. So this might be great for other people, but this isn't going to be great for us. And that was our feeling for a while. But our desire for something more just launched this haunting what if. So after saying no for 8 months, we watched our friends achieve tremendous success in that period of time, that we decided to jump in, even if only to see what if. And in 15 months, guys, we were able to bring my wife home from her job at the hospital. Within 20 months, we earned a free Lexus from the company. And in 2 years, we were both home. 4.5 years in, we have more than quadrupled our combined nursing income. We've resigned from the hospital. We wake up together every morning as a family of 5 with this renewed excitement that asks, so what adventure are we going on today? And here's the exciting thing. My story's not unique. I want to introduce you guys to some of my colleagues, and I'm going to start tonight by introducing an amazing friend of mine, Melissa King.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As Jim said, we know you're busy, but we thank you for joining us. And my name's Melissa King. I'm coming at you live from Orange County, California. I'm an infectious diseases doctor by trade and a wife. Been married to my husband, who's also a physician, almost 9 years. And I have 3 children, ages 6, 4, and 2 years old. So needless to say, my life and my house is pretty much a zoo. But my journey with this business started about 3.5 years ago when I saw one of my girlfriends posting about this skincare on Facebook. And honestly, I just was like, that is so weird. And I scrolled right on past that because skincare really wasn't a priority to me. However, after a little while of watching her on Facebook, I thought, you know what, maybe I need some eye cream, because I was okay with my skincare regimen at that time, which was basically bar soap, water, and baby wipes. And yeah, basically the same bar of soap that was going over my entire family and their little body parts was going on my face, and I was totally cool with that. However, I did contact my girlfriend eventually to try the eye cream, and I ended up actually becoming a consultant for the deepest discount. And looking back, I am so glad I did, because what I found really amazed me, and it was hearing stories just like Jim's and like many of the stories that you're going to hear tonight. These stories inspired me. And what really stood out to me was, I know this isn't a healthcare event, but there were people that were being successful at this business from all diverse backgrounds. And to me, being a physician, because I have a passion for helping and serving people, I really thought to myself, I actually prayed about it and thought, you know what if I could help someone with their skin, with these products, thereby increasing their confidence? Or what if I could help someone with this opportunity and help them make some extra income? I definitely can't do that as a doctor. And so I jumped all in. And looking back, you know, at that time, I owned my own private practice with 2 other infectious disease doctors. Married to a busy physician working, you know, 70, 80 hours a week, both of us. And with 2 little kids at that time, I was running. I was always running. I was running to drop the kids off at school, running to pick them up after work, running home to do dinner, bath, and bedtime. You know, running around afterwards to do billing, charting after the kids went to sleep. And I felt like my life was always on a timer, and I was always running behind. I mean, talk about hashtag mom fell after hashtag mom fell. I was always the mom that picked up the kids, you know, on regular time when it was a minimum day. I couldn't remember when it was purple shirt day. I mean, that was me. And when I did get home, my kids and my family were basically getting my leftovers, my exhausted, tired, and overworked leftovers. And while I was a good doctor, I felt like I wasn't a good wife and a good mom, and definitely not what I had imagined my family life to be. But you know what? I never once thought anything of it. I thought this was my normal. This is what I have to do. Bills got to get paid, mortgage has to get paid, childcare has got to get paid. And I'm so thankful that I did open my heart and mind to say yes, because what this business has given us is options. And it's options to do what I love when I love. And within 2 years, I was able to match my income as a physician, working this business part-time and having a third child along the way. And within 3.5 years, I actually just retired from my medical practice. And now, while I do work as a physician still at times, I get to work when I want on my time, when I decide. And I think having options and that time freedom has been priceless. And something unexpected along this journey also has been the relationships in this community, even this community as we stand right now. And that's something I didn't even know that I was actually missing. And probably one of the greatest things I think most of us can attest to is not only has this business been able to change our lives, we have been able to help others on our teams do the same. And that has truly been the greatest gift. And I just want to leave you with this, and I totally live this. If we can do this, you can do this. I'm sure that none of us thought we would be selling skincare on Facebook, and yet here we all are. And we're able to do this because we believe that we can. And I truly believe that you deserve the life of your dreams. Maybe you can't have it all, but we were able to have the options to choose to devote the time that we think is most important to that which matters most to us. And so thank you so much for joining me tonight and listening to my story. I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague now, Karen Horn.
Hi, my name is Dr. Karen Horn. I'm a dermatologist in Chicago. I own my own practice along with my husband, who is also a dermatologist. We have 3 kids. I have identical twin 11-year-old girls and a 13-year-old girl as well. My Rodan & Field story began a year before I was approached with the business opportunity. I was seeing a patient in the office for help with textures and lines, and within a few months between treatments, I noticed that all of her brown spots had disappeared from her face. I assumed that she was seeing another provider or going to another office for laser work. And because I'm a little bit more of a call it like I see it type of doctor, I couldn't help but ask her where and how she had gotten rid of all of that sun damage. I was surprised and intrigued when she said that it was a skincare line called Reverse, created by the same dermatologist who had started Proactive. I had never heard of the skincare line before. I decided to remember it because I was so very impressed and floored by the efficacy of the products. But of course, time and life got in my way, and I never followed up to figure out what this product line was or where it had come from. Fast forward about a year, and in walks my soon-to-be direct business partner asking me if I'd heard of the skincare line. So I quickly put 2 and 2 together, and I decided that I wasn't going to allow another year to pass by without seizing the moment and learning more. So I asked her to give me as much information and all of the details possible on all of the products, including all of the ingredients. And I sat down to review them. And what I quickly realized was how smart and truly genius this line was. It was effective anti-aging skincare for the every person. I turned to my husband, who was also a dermatologist, as I mentioned, and after expressing my initial frustration that I hadn't thought of this idea first, I figured that if I couldn't beat them, I could certainly join them, and that's what I did. So by far, for me, the most compelling reason that I joined is because of the ingredients, but that's not the only reason. In addition, the multi-med, several-step regimens are truly a direct extension of my current practice style. The company has taken tried and true clinical grade ingredients and created a structure where most people can succeed and see meaningful changes in their skin. I also really love that much the same way that Proactive was able to reach millions more people struggling with acne than the dermatology community could support, I'm so grateful that Rodan & Fields has allowed me to personally extend my reach to include people well beyond the four walls of my practice. I love that customers are improving their skin and developing great skin habits like daily sunscreen use, because unlike many other skincare companies whose founding members are full of chemists and marketing gurus, Rodan & Fields is the brainchild of two dermatologists with years of clinical experience. So as a doctor, as a dermatologist, I'm already part of the evolving billion-dollar anti-aging business. And Rodan & Fields has enabled me to be part of this industry on a totally different level, which has allowed me to diversify my financial portfolio. So I can now earn even when I'm not in the office supervising patients. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, as a mom, I love that this is a willable business. I also greatly appreciate the reward of residual income because it's enabled me to more quickly meet my financial goals without having to sacrifice family time. In general, I'm not so sure that I was searching for more, but I am pretty sure that I just really knew a good thing when I saw it, and I wasn't interested in allowing it to pass me by wondering what could have been. So that's my story, and I'd next like to introduce you to John Neustadt.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Neustadt. I am a naturopathic doctor, and my wife found Rodan & Fields about 8 years ago when a PR client of hers in the East Coast actually mentioned it to her. We were living in Bozeman, Montana at the time, a town of 37,000, and we had never heard of Rodan & Fields. Of course, we'd heard of Proactive, and we'd heard about the doctors who had created Proactive, but we had no idea that they had started a new company. And at the time, we were looking for something else. I had a private medical practice, and my wife had her own PR consultancy that she was running, and we were busy. We had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old at the time, and we were getting by, but we weren't getting ahead. And we knew if we wanted to increase and improve our income, I'd have to hire more employees. I'd have to enter into long-term contracts to lease out more office space. I'd have to get busier, and she would have to get busier and busier, which would leave us less time for ourselves, our kids, and the things that we really love. And then she heard about Rodan & Fields. Now, I looked at it from the perspective of a doctor, a father who really wanted something more for our family, and as an entrepreneur, because I had already started a dietary supplement company. And in doing so, like anybody who starts their own company can tell you, I had to create all the formulas, figure out the manufacturing, the distribution system, all the back-end computer and software infrastructure. I had to figure out the shipping and the returns, everything from soup to nuts, comply with all legal FDA and FTC requirements. We heard about Rodan & Fields that essentially my wife could join a plug-and-play business where the corporate office has a dream team of experts that have been in the industry for many years supporting us, that they've done all of that legwork. And all we would have to focus on is just talking to people with skin. And that it's not dependent on any geographic boundaries. It wasn't dependent on the four walls of my clinic, that we could build profit centers anywhere where we knew people with skin or they knew people with skin. And the investment to start our business was relatively low. If it's like a virtual franchise, if somebody wanted to start a Subway Subs, for example, they'd have to invest a minimum of $250,000 just to get my clinic and my supplement company up and running. Both of those are multiple six figures. So to be able to start a business with all the support and the teamwork that comes along with that, and the support that all the consultants gave, for a minimal investment, it was a no-brainer. And she worked hard at it. She fit it in whenever she could. She was busy, but she was coachable, and she followed the system. And in just over a year, she was earning more than she was earning in her PR 15-year award-winning PR practice. And in 2.5 years, When I decided I really did not love clinical medicine anymore, I wanted to be more of a hands-on dad. I wanted to participate more in help in Rodan and Fields. I wanted to also focus more on my dietary supplement company and what I'm more passionate about. In 2.5 years after starting a Rodan and Fields business, because of the income that it provided us, I was able to walk away and close my clinical practice. And now I'm able to do all my medical consulting work that I do by phone, in my backyard, or wherever I want to be. I can do that all pro bono, focusing it around our kids and our family and us as a couple. And so what it's given us in that respect, in terms of the flexibility and the financial freedom and the ability to live our lives and earn an income how we want to, and give back to our communities in ways that we are passionate about, has been some of the most incredible benefits of Rodan and Fields for us. Now, I was also able to talk about this in my practice, and as healthcare professionals on this page watching this, I was able to work this into my conversations. I was able to put a line item on my intake form about if anything was bothering them about their skin, if they're struggling with any issues with their skin. And so that was a nice opening to be able to open the conversation within the clinic. And my wife was also building it, and we were talking to people outside of the clinic as well. So that's how we were able to do it. I think that it's been phenomenal for us, the thousands and thousands of people that we've met on this journey, the friends that we've made all across this country, in 3 different countries now, also in Canada and Australia, who we would have never met. It's really been a benefit of this business that we never could have anticipated. I hope you really take a hard look at this, and if it fits into your life and your goals and you see what this can mean to you, you really dive in and be coachable and run with this, because it truly can be life-changing. Now I'm going to introduce my colleague, Lisa Mead.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, John. I am so thrilled to be here with everyone tonight. And as you've heard from some of the other speakers tonight, that whole idea of what if. And 7 years ago when I started this business, that was the thing that rang so true for me. I had a successful career in pharmaceuticals and sales, management, and training for 12 years. And for a long time, I loved it. I climbed the corporate ladder. I had a lot of fun and I had a lot of success. But the pharmaceutical industry started to change dramatically. And with that change, a lot of my passion and enthusiasm for the job went away. And I was actually laid off of 2 different positions within 18 months. So the writing was on the wall that this really wasn't the place that I wanted to be anymore. The challenge was, how was I going to find something else that would provide that 6-figure salary that I had become so accustomed to? And as I'm sure you've heard people say before, I had those golden handcuffs. I had a company car, I had great benefits, I had all these things that were really hard to walk away from. At that same time, my husband and I were in the middle of a long and very expensive adoption process. And the thing I knew deep in my heart was that after 6 years of trying to have a baby, I knew I didn't want to be traveling and working full time. I wanted to be there for all those first moments and really get to experience motherhood, not from texts from a nanny and not from just getting to do it in the nights and weekends, but really to be there for every moment. And so while in a lot of ways it was the worst time to start a business with being laid off and trying to adopt, it was also a great crossroads in terms of really reevaluating what I wanted in my life. And certainly Rodan and Fields was something unconventional. I had never done direct sales before. My parents had raised me to think of getting a good job with benefits and stability. And I realized, though, that if nothing changed, that nothing would change. And so I decided to take a chance and really do something different. I'll admit I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I would be successful. But I did know that I never wanted to look back with regret. So really, based on that and also the credibility of the doctors and what they had done with Proactive, I thought it was worth taking a chance. I jumped in and I started sharing the products, sharing the business, following the lead of those who had had success before me. And one of the things coming from a pharmaceutical company with prescription dermatology products, and we had great OTC products, I was blown away by the results that I was experiencing and that my customers were seeing. So it was easy to have passion for the brand. Within 2 years of being in this business, I exceeded my corporate salary. And that was really just the jumping off point. That was my goal when starting this business. And the funny thing that I've seen along the way in this business is most of us start it for a personal need. For me, it was to be able to leave the corporate world behind. But what I found along the way are the friendships that we've had, the other people that we've been able to partner with and see their success has been absolute icing on the cake. And the biggest joy for us has been that when our kids were born 3 years ago and 5 years ago, I had the freedom to be home and to be with them and to experience all those firsts that I had so wanted. My husband actually still works in the pharmaceutical industry, and with all the legislation changes in California and just the way that pharmaceuticals is headed in general, we know that that's coming to an end. But we also now have something that can sustain that when that time comes, and we don't have to be worried about what's next. So I've been super grateful for this business, and definitely any of you who are thinking about it, it's certainly worth really thinking about what if this could be something that can change your life, your family's life, your community's life. So with that, I want to pass it on to my friend and colleague, Jenna Kravitz, who is a neuropsychologist. And it's on to you, Jenna.
Thank you, Lisa. So hey everyone, my name is Jenna Kravitz, and I am coming to you today from Los Angeles, California. My Rodan & Fields journey started pretty similar to a lot of people's. A friend of mine posted on Facebook about 4 years ago, and it was about the products, and I had just run out of face wash, so I actually reached out to her to find out a little bit more about these products, because I really wasn't using anything special and thought, you know, maybe at the time I was about 35, 36 years old, I should probably start using something. And so I reached out to her about the products. We talked for about 5 minutes. I placed a big order. I started using the products, and 2 weeks later, I had noticed a significant difference in my skin. So much so that even the critics in my life, like my mother, who's the first to point out any crow's feet, wanted to know what I was using. And so, like a good friend, I sent 6 of my friends, including my mom and my aunt, to my friend Julie, who lives across the country in Florida, to order from her. Well, one day when I was sitting at a conference, Julie called me up and she said, listen, I could sell it to your friends, or you could sell it to your friends. And right away, my answer was, no, this is not my jam. Thank you for thinking of me, but I'll keep sending you people. We hung up the phone, and I called her back a minute later, and I asked her to send me some information, because the truth was that I loved the products and I had seen what they'd done for my skin. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I could just make like $500 extra a month for shopping money. But, you know, I started to become cautious because I'm busy. I'm really busy. So professionally, I'm a clinical neuropsychologist. And at the time I was on staff at a very large and prestigious hospital in Los Angeles. I've been a professor at UCLA and Pepperdine for the past 14 years. And right around that time, I started working as a media expert for a well-known television physician by the name of Dr. Drew. So I would go to the hospital all day, and then I would run over to the CNN building, and I would tape the shows, and then I would come home. Personally, at that time, it was also perhaps the hardest time of my life. I was a newly single mom of then 4-year-old boy-girl twins, and I was trying to mediate that in my life and my family. And just to top things off, I was the president of the PTA at preschool. So I was busy. Like, I didn't even use the restroom alone. And I was thinking, how can I add a business to my very full plate? But we had a conversation, and I basically ran the idea by my former husband. My former husband is not only a good friend of mine, but he also happens to be the most sought after retail bankruptcy trustee in the country. So my thought was, you know, I don't know anything about business. I'm going to run this by him. And I told him about my big idea of partnering with the proactive doctors. And right away he said, Jen, don't do anything until I look into this. Well, he came back the next day and plopped himself on my couch, and he said, Jen, I looked into the company, and that company is going to be a gold mine. You have to do this, and you have to do it now. He explained the benefit of residual income, which I had no idea about. He explained that if I worked this business consistently and the right way, that in 3 to 5 years, I could way surpass what I was earning in medicine and teaching combined. So it didn't take much more. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just had this hunch that I could turn it into whatever I wanted at that point. And I ran upstairs, grabbed my computer, took the 6 minutes it takes to enroll. I enrolled on the largest business kit that Rodan & Fields has to offer. And I made a couple calls to tell all my 6 friends that I sent to my friend that, hey, you can buy it from me now. And that's how my business started. I had no interest in building a team. I had no idea what that meant. I figured I would sell the product to my good friends and family, maybe make that $500 of shopping money that I wanted. But the universe had much bigger plans for me. Within the first month, I was able to recoup the initial investment. And I was at that point, in the green. Within a year, I had been able to match what I was making as a neuropsychologist at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, working part-time at the time. And by 2 years in, I had earned 8 promotions with the company. I've been on numerous trips. I'm a Lexus achiever with the help of my amazing team. The list goes on, but now it's been 4 years. I was able to leave my job at Cedars-Sinai. It's an amazing place to work, and I had the best colleagues ever, but the commute was 90 minutes each way for me. And the reality was that I was missing everything with my kids' lives, at least. So the nutshell version of the reason why I wake up and do this every day is this. I was born and raised here in Los Angeles by a single mom who worked 7 days a week to provide the kind of life that she wanted for my brother and I, and we never wanted for anything. But the cost of her being a single mom and working that much was that she missed everything. She was never at dance rehearsals. She was never at basketball practice. She was never the hot lunch mom or the room mom at school. And when I grew up and I got married and I decided to have children, I swore that the one thing that I was committed to was being the carpool line mom. So you're probably thinking, like, what is that, right? Well, when I would walk out of my elementary school, each day I would look at this long line of minivans in the 80s, and I would always be super jealous of those kids who had their moms waiting for them after school while I walked to the corner and a babysitter would walk my brother and I home. So when I grew up, I swore that I would never rob my kids of having the carpool line mom. But you know what? Life happens sometimes. And one day I found myself in the middle of a divorce that I had not foreseen. And I did what any mom would do. And that was that I started working more. I took on more classes at the university. I took on more research projects at UCLA. Whatever it was, I started working more because I didn't want their lifestyle to change. But the cost of that was that I was sitting in 90-minute traffic one day on the freeway on the way home, and I realized that history was repeating itself. And if something didn't change and didn't change fast, that my children would grow up to be 40 years old like me, and they would tell the same story about how their mom was brilliant and beautiful and achieved and smart and all of these things, but she missed everything. And I just didn't want that to happen. So I can honestly tell you that within the past 4 years, I've completely changed the blueprint of my family's life. I was able to recently purchase our dream home on an acre of land in Los Angeles, or a half acre, which is unheard of here. I was able to leave my job at Cedars-Sinai. I'm still on staff at Pepperdine. I'm still on staff at UCLA, and I still work as a media expert. But the difference is that now I choose my schedule. I choose how many classes I want to teach. I choose how many research projects I want to take on, how many postdoctoral fellows I want to supervise, what days and what times I want to go to work. And so 4 of the 5 days a week, I am now able to sit in the carpool line. And let me tell you, when I get into that line, I know that I've arrived. My kids are jumping up and down at those cones. And now the story is completely changed. So basically, when I started this, I had no idea really why I was doing this. But what I realized along the way was that I wanted to do it all, right? I wanted to be a carpool line mom, but I wanted to be a neuropsychologist, and I wanted to be a professor, and I wanted to be a media expert. And I just couldn't figure out how to do that without breaking my back on a more than full-time schedule. So when I talk to people about this Rodan & Fields business, what I tell them is that this business has allowed me the opportunity and the privilege of doing it all. And now the story is totally changed, and my kids are going to grow up and they're going to be able to say that they had that carpool line mom. So if you're thinking about this, I'll leave you with these 3 things. When I was considering this particular journey, which was totally out of my comfort zone, I've never had a job in sales, guys, except at the batting cages when I was 16 years old. I thought to myself, there were three things that I kept thinking to myself. Number one was that if these doctors could create one multi-billion-dollar brand in an acne market, they could certainly do that again in an anti-aging market, and probably even bigger. Number two was that I knew that there was a ceiling as to how much I could earn in any hospital environment, even as the chief of the department. And I knew that I dreamt of a lifestyle that would cost more than that particular budget. And number three, I knew that if I didn't at least try it and kind of watch the train go by, that I would probably regret that. And at this point in my life, I just don't do regret. So with that, I jumped on board, and I honestly, it's been the single best decision I have ever made for my family and I. So I do hope you'll take a good, hard look at this opportunity. And now I want to kick it over to my colleague, John Bellerjew.
Thank you, Jenna, and hello, everybody. I am John Bellerjew, and I'm part of this little discussion because I've been practicing dentistry for about 28 years. And most of that time, I've been running 3 practices down here in Alabama. When I was getting ready for tonight, a thought crossed my mind, and I wondered, even though many of us in the medical field had to get a degree or 2, and we had to go through lots of training to get to do what we do, how many times in our lives has our journey been changed by a conversation? I mean, I went to dental school because I had a conversation with somebody when I was a kid, and they said, your handwriting is terrible. You should grow up and be a doctor. And then off I went on that journey. And I would say I'm speaking to you tonight because I had a conversation or 2, and one of them was with my wife, Heidi. About 8 years ago, I was practicing, and Heidi had decided to leave her corporate job to focus on raising our kids. But, while she was home, there was one thing she didn't want, and that was just to listen to Dora and Caillou all day long. She really wanted something else. So she came to me one day and she said she wanted to partner with the doctors that created Proactive. And it just so happened for us, the timing was really good because we had just decided to start a filter company because we wanted to create some type of passive income. And she wasn't passionate about filters, but she was passionate about skincare. And so, of course, what I mean by passive income is we didn't want to be trading our time for our money. Because the one thing that I haven't liked about dentistry, like most healthcare careers, is that we've all signed up to swap time for money. And generally, that's the only way we can do it. We got to take care of one person at a time. And it's the only option that's really there. Well, tonight, what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd share with you what I've learned by being in this business with her. And specifically, what I didn't understand when I was sitting in your position evaluating the idea of starting a business using Rodan & Fields products. Now, first off, if I was going to work with Heidi, I did not want to give up my ability to heal people and to make a meaningful impact. I really laugh at that concern now, because not only are we healing people, I don't have to hear every other patient saying, nothing personal, doc, but I hate the dentist, and gosh, I can help way more people every day than I ever could at the practice. So to illustrate that, do this with me. I want you to think about some person that you have helped recently, especially if you are in healthcare. Think about how you felt when you treated someone and you brought them back to health. And even better, they were appreciative. And think about the positive feeling that you had when you treated an infection or you fixed their smile. That's what we all love about healthcare, right? So my goal right now is for you to immerse yourself into that beautiful feeling and such satisfying feeling of when you've made somebody better. Now, as you have that feeling, what I want you to do is imagine, what if you could treat 2 people at a time? Or maybe 5 people. God, that's stretching it, Imagine having 5 times the feeling of satisfaction. Or let's get real crazy. What if you at a time? Or what if you could even do 1,000 people at a time? You see, that's what this business does. This business gives us the ability to be compassionate in the same way that we are in healthcare, but it's actually magnified by the way the business model works. So the more you grow your business, the more you share your compassion, and it's really that amazing. So what else have I learned? You know, some other things that I learned about our side gig that I didn't understand were possible. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the freedoms that we've been able to create. Some of these freedoms are even freedoms I used to have when we were in healthcare, but you know, with all the changes that we've seen in healthcare over the last several years, some of them just aren't there. I mean, first off, we have time freedom now. I was able to quickly make my hours at the office a whole lot more flexible, and that made working even more enjoyable. And then there's location freedom. You know, right now we're in a position where we have enough income coming. If we want to live wherever we want to live, we can do that now. And we've never had that before. We had to stay here because that's where my bread and butter was. Then, you know, we also have the freedom to work with whatever people we choose to. And I'll just leave that right there. And probably the most rewarding one is the freedom of purpose. I mean, we now get to spend time doing the things that are most important to us. So all of those things are really worth looking a little further into this business. But I really have to take a second to tell you one last thing about owning a side business that makes it have an incredible value. You never know what tomorrow holds. And I know that sounds like a cheap cliche. But 2.5 years ago, I went to work one day and I developed a detached retina. And as a result, I had to end up selling all of my practices. And now I'm only working part-time. It's an enjoyable part-time, but it's only part-time. But my family hasn't skipped a beat. I love it financially because Heidi's plan B turned into our plan A. So I've got to close by just asking you, what's your plan B? If you aren't sure, maybe it's time to have a little conversation with the person that brought you on this call, because that conversation could change the course of your future a whole lot like it did for us too. So let me end there, and I'm going to hand this conversation over to Heather Forster. Heather?
All right. Hi guys, John, I so enjoyed your story. Thank you very much. And I'm so excited to be on this call with you and share a little bit about why Rodan & Fields is so special to me. So I'm coming live to you from Chicago, and I am a nurse anesthetist and a busy mom to 4. For those of you that don't know what a nurse anesthetist is, I give anesthesia under an advanced practice nursing license and function pretty similarly to an anesthesiologist. So another common theme, I have identical twin boys that are both 13. I have a 10-year-old little boy and a 9-year-old little girl. So for us, life is pretty busy, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love being a mom to them. I have been practicing anesthesia for 14 years, and for the majority of that, working part-time in a hospital, and I also own my own anesthesia company. With my company, I give anesthesia for a few plastic surgeons in their office in the Chicago area. And I love my job as a nurse anesthetist. I love the technical aspects of giving anesthesia and the daily challenge. But as you can imagine, it's pretty stressful at times. Also, about 8 years ago, do you remember when we had that massive, epic housing market crash? Well, my husband was a very successful realtor, and we were pretty hit hard by that recession. And his very nice paycheck kind of vanished before our eyes. So I naturally started to work a little bit extra to compensate for the loss in our income. I kicked my anesthesia business into high gear, filled my schedule with extra shifts around the city, and pretty much ended up working all the time. And life was good for a while. We were paying our bills. My husband was great at being home with our kids. But as time went on, I found myself coming home exhausted and crabby with not much left to give my family. And I was getting a little jealous that he was home so much with our kids. So I actually remember one day coming home and I was deflated and depressed and thinking, is this it? I can't work any harder than this. This job is really stressful and I don't think I can do this for the next 40 years of my life. And our kids were little, but we were dependent on my income and I was missing out on precious time with my kids. I, like the common theme, wanted to be the mom that was going on the field trips with my kids. I wanted to be home when my kids got from school and I wanted to be there to send them off in the morning. And to be honest, this lack of balance in our house was beginning to affect our marriage a little bit. So about 5.5 years ago, in a moment of desperation, my friend Kelly introduced me to her side business with Rodan and Fields. And of course, I initially laughed in her face because I was way too busy. I had my successful career in anesthesia, and honestly, I thought I was above selling skincare. But also working in physician offices, I had access to the creme de la creme of anti-aging products. But my friend Kelly was really smart. She had me try a regimen, and I was blown away. The prescription products that I had previously used were so intense that they irritated my skin. And I really hadn't found anything I loved. And when I tried Rodan and Fields, I was totally blown away. I very quickly started seeing results and was getting compliments on my skin like I never had before. So Kelly brought me to an event in Chicago, and I listened to one of our top Chicago leaders. And she painted a vision for me of what this company could do for our family. Like me, she had 3 small kids and was running multiple companies, and Rodan and Fields was going to be her vehicle for time freedom and financial freedom. And absolutely, I was skeptical, but I thought, what do I have to lose? I love this skincare, and I love that this line is created by 2 successful dermatologists, and I love this community of men and women empowering each other. And I thought, what if I could make a side paycheck from this business? That would mean less days I would have to pick up in the OR. So I jumped in, and when I started, I truly did not have a business bone in my body, but I'm the type of person that when I love something, I very genuinely share and talk about it, regardless of whether or not I'm making a commission. I love these products, and I knew others were gonna love them too. So I jumped in, and over the last 5.5 years, by sharing these products and this business, I've been able to grow an incredible paycheck that now more than doubles what I made as a full-time nurse anesthetist. I was able to leave the hospital setting a couple of years ago. I said goodbye to those 12-hour shifts. And now I still work as a nurse anesthetist, but in private practice on my own terms. I make my own schedule. I get to decide when I go on vacation. And the best part is that because of passive residual income, when I go on vacation, I still collect a paycheck, which is pretty awesome. So the paycheck wasn't built overnight. It took me a few years. But during this time, the best part about this business was that on my really crummy days in the OR, I would think to myself, thank God I have Rodan and Fields. This business gave me hope that sometime in my future, I would have an exit strategy from those long, stressful days. So now because of Rodan and Fields, I have the time freedom I was craving. I love this business because it's allowed me and so many others like us to live life on our own terms. And now I get to decide how I want to spend my time. This company is awesome. And really, I think for me, the best part is sharing it with others and inspiring others to make a change from a situation that they maybe are not that happy in. And this business can be the vehicle for just that. So if you're like me and you're tired of being a slave to your job or desiring a plan B, I do encourage you to explore this opportunity. Ask questions, educate yourself on our company, and then decide if it's the right fit for you, because it may be exactly what you didn't know you were looking for. So thanks, you guys. Now I want to introduce my colleague, Mel Whittle.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Heather. I'm super excited to be here with you guys this evening. I'm Mel Whittle. I'm the licensed drug dealer, aka pharmacist, for the past 16 years. And if you're looking at my skin, you're probably thinking she must have started when she was 2, but that's just how amazing these products really are. So I was working about 60 to 70 hours a week when Rodan and Fields came into my life. And when I say that, pharmacy was always my plan A. I was so passionate about skincare, about my profession, and I really wasn't looking for anything at that time. My husband and I worked full-time jobs that we absolutely loved. And, his background is in financial services. What I quickly came to learn about was that Rodan and Fields was such a huge opportunity. Anti-aging market with a well-known brand, two of the world's most world-renowned dermatologists. And I don't know about you guys, but I did not want to miss out. See, my background as a pharmacist helped me really recognize that the science behind these products were something that I felt so confident sharing with anyone in my network. So I started the business that day, that same day, even before knowing how I was going to fit it into my crazy schedule. See, the way I saw it is it was a low risk, low cost of entry, and I did not want to see it pass me by. And I started working it in purposeful pockets of time, averaging about 5 to 10 hours a week. And it surpassed my pharmacist salary in 2.5 years. So for many of you, you might have been like, let's walk away from pharmacy, but I loved pharmacy. And I also loved my Rodan and Fields business. I was able to help change the pathway for people's skincare. I was able to bring people and build this business with the people that I loved. But God had other plans for me. About 2 years ago, I had a health scare that made me really take a look at what was really important in my life. It made me stop and evaluate it. And it was my health and my family. And right around that same time, there was so much stuff happening and God was speaking to me. I felt like my family and friends were telling me to walk away from pharmacy. And then I finally caved in and walked away from pharmacy. And I felt like it was at the right time. My mom at that same time frame got ill, and my Rodan and Fields career, I feel, allowed me that flexibility to work and be present with my mom in her last year. Being a healthcare professional, I don't think I ever would have thought that I would own my own business. But what I will tell you today is that I have zero regrets. I'm forever grateful that this opportunity came into my life. And I'm so excited to share this incredible opportunity with so many others so they too can have those options. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it off to our very own Green Ninja, Jim Larson, to wrap things up.
All right, so that reference was totally inside for so many people, but I appreciate you so much, Mel, for throwing that out there. Guys, well, thank you again, seriously, so much for spending your time with us. We hope you realize that if you want more, whether it's replacement income, a shameless spending fund, a residual revenue stream, then it can be found with Rodan and Fields. And the thing we want you to realize probably most of all is that we're not successful because we're somehow uniquely awesome. We're successful because there's proven market demand for our product line. Rodan and Fields has been the #1 skincare brand in the entire US for the last 2 years, the #1 brand in all of North America for the last year. We do more in annual sales now than Clinique, Estee Lauder, Lancome, and before someone tells me I'm not allowed to say that because of compliance, those statistics are all from Euromonitor, which is a fancy third-party data collection company. Guys, people want what we have. And the parent company is offering you the opportunity to partner with them. That's really exciting, and that's what each of us have realized. So you can circle back tonight with the consultant that invited you to join us, to hang out with us for the evening. Ask any specific questions that you have of them that they can answer about your unique situation. We're just excited because we know so many of you have caught a vision tonight for what this business might do for you, and we seriously cannot wait to hear the announcement that you started your own journey to unlock the potential that Rodan and Fields has positioned you to capitalize on. So thank you so much for tuning in again. Have a great night. Thanks again, everybody. And I'm stuttering to end this whole thing. So love you all. Good night.